Well, for more on this, I'm joined now on set by France 24's journalist Shirli Sitbon. Hi, Shirley. These hostage families have already been through so much, and they will have known this wasn't going to be straightforward. What can you tell us about what they're thinking?
Yes, since the beginning, they've seen all these ups and downs, so many disappointments, because Qatar and Egypt have tried to mediate a deal from the beginning, and we've seen either side, either the Israelis or Hamas, just blocking these deals for various reasons. And yesterday, although the deal seemed almost certain, everyone was telling these families, don't rejoice, don't feel relief right away. You have to wait until this really is carried out, because there's so many things that can happen and that can delay this or make this actually not happen. The exact identity of the people coming back, they told people, it's not because you have a child who's a hostage that they're going to come back tomorrow. You never know. This is a deal on several phases. It's extremely complex. So what we're seeing now is that all sides are saying this hasn't been signed. There are disagreements. So basically, the Israelis say that they don't have the exact list of the hostages that will be released in several stages and their state of health. And Qatar says that there are last-minute disagreements over the deal. There are still some holes in this deal, and they're being negotiated right now. And Qatar says, this main mediator with Egypt, saying that they hope that within a few hours, they'll be able to say when the ceasefire will begin and when the swap of hostages and prisoners can start. So families are very disappointed, but they're waiting, hoping for good news during the day. And the Americans also saying that this is such a complex deal, it has to be thought to the last detail. Otherwise, lives are at stake. Of course, lives are at stake also when the deal is not carried out and these operations continue in the Gaza Strip.
So another day of waiting. Meanwhile, on the Palestinian side, what in this deal that is going to impact the Palestinians is, of course, the pause in fighting and the release of Palestinian prisoners. Do we know who will be released? Do we know much about what aid will get in?
Well, we know many things. We talked about the ceasefire. Of course, there's Hamas and there are the civilians. Completely different. Hamas, well, of course, it wants a ceasefire, and the Israelis are saying it wants to rebuild, to regroup, and maybe perhaps just, stop the Israeli push on the ground, maybe bring an end to this war, and not, not go through all this fighting. But the civilians, the more than 2 million civilians living in the Gaza Strip, they see the ceasefire as a relief because they've been facing this fighting, these bombings, and all of these deaths for such a long time. And a ceasefire, this deal, is not just about a swap. It's about, a truce and a halt to all these bombings and seeing aid at last coming in. They need food, they need water, they need medicine, and they need fuel. And hundreds of trucks will come in. They're supposed to come in, and the fuel will help, help get electricity, mainly for hospitals, but for everyone. Everyone has shortages. And what the Gazans also want, and what Palestinians also want, of course, you talked about this release of prisoners in exchange for the hostages. And those people yesterday, the Israelis have released a list of 300 potential prisoners who could be released. Most of them are teenagers. They're called security prisoners by the Israelis. The Palestinians see them as political prisoners. And there are also dozens of women in this list. So about half of the people will, if the deal goes through, will be released, some 150 people. And if everything goes well, if it does start, it goes well, maybe there'll be more releases in time, more hostages and more prisoners released later on. We'll see this, for how long this goes, and if it goes according to plan and even better to the plan. That's what everyone hopes.
Indeed. Thanks very much, Shirli Sitbon there.